We'll now talk about kind of just a quick maintenance. So with not maintenance, but refueling the solvent. So the tanks are at the bottom. Indicators should always remain on the top of where the tank is.
Around 85 liters. This is the 85 marker, or maybe this white label. So the technician has told me that make sure you leave enough perk in both the tanks. Right now this tank is showing full, marker is all the way up at top, but it looks like this tank perk is lower
the
than
marker?
this.
That's
is
the ball?
actually, yeah, that white ball is the marker.
Okay.
Obviously there is less than 50 liters of perk in this tank, and over 100 or close to 100 liters of perk in this tank.
Yep.
Now I'll explain to you few things. We can move, which we do not have to, but in worst scenario, if we have to move perk from one tank to the another, then I'll basically show you the steps. When this is in the unlock position, when the light is lit, it will not allow you to run any of the other programs. The first thing is make that locked. So machine is locked now. Now you can run the program. I am going to move perk from that tank to this one. That is tank number 2, and this is tank number 1.
Okay. Moving tank 2 to tank 1.
Tank 1. So I'm gonna start with manual cycle. So that's the manual switch, and I am bringing perk out of 2. So this is the tank 2, and the arrow is at the bottom going out. So I'm gonna press that. I am bringing in perk in tank 1. So this is tank 1 with arrow coming in. So I'm gonna press that, and this is the motor. So
I
I'm
can
gonna
see it.
start the motor, and
I can
then
see it already running. Okay.
so as you can see, the marker is going down, and
Is there any benefit in doing that, or does it matter?
I mean, when the cycle starts, it pulls perk from here. So this is the tank when the perk comes back.
I see. So ideally, if let's say we don't do this manually, does the machine just automatically
Yeah,
take it
it
from
will
tank
pull
2?
it from here. If there is nothing here, then it will go there.
Okay.
So when you turn this off, obviously you have to press that off first.
Sorry,
That
press what?
Press 2. So this is going
to
out.
stop. Yep.
Leave motor running for few minutes. So whatever perk which was on its way in the pipes will come back. Now it stopped. So stop the motor. Turn this off. And out.
But how come now it only goes?
So that shows me that we have about 70 and 50, about 100 and it shows 60 and 70. So 130 liters of perk.
Okay.
The capacity is 200 liters, 100 liters and 100 liters. So we can add another.
How come the lowest is 57? So how do you know when it's like 30 or
then
0?
Actually, the tank goes all the way at the bottom, but this is the level where it's 57 liters. So
I see.
when this marker is like right now, it's about just 70, 72 and a half, between 70, 75. So we need another about 15 liters and about 40. So maybe 5 more tanks will bring it up to.
And how do we put more in there?
I was gonna explain
Okay.
to you that next. So okay, there are few ways to do it. what I have found it to be the easiest is we get 10-liter bucket,
Mm-hmm.
5 of them. Always I had ordered 5 together, so you do it once every few months. Uh, Open this tank by pressing this.
Mm-hmm.
So when this is flickering means it's getting ready for unlocking. When it will become solid, you can open. Right now it's not allowing me to open.
Oh, so does it always do that? To flicker first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I can open it. After few seconds there is a click. So now I can open. Alright, so filling in uh, tanks with the new perk. So what I have been doing is just emptying the content of the bucket into this tank and going through the same similar step which I did for moving perk from tank 2 to tank 1. So difference is going to be I am moving perk out of the main drum, which is button 21. So I will do manual out of 21, running the motor, and you can bring perk in either of the tank. So if say that is more low, then you want to bring it into 2, so then going into 2, so going out of 21 motor and going into tank 2, which is 23. And normally when the perk is being moved, when you are running the motor, there is a peculiar noise or sound. When it is empty, there is no perk, it changes the tone, or that noise gets, so you know that there is no more perk in the tank, because visually once it goes down you don't see that you have enough perk. But by that sound you will know. And also when no more perk is going into the tank, out from the outside window you will see nothing going in. So at that point you can stop the motor and then turn off those switches which you had pressed. So again, just to go over, bringing or putting perk into the tank, manual, open this, pour all 5 together, press this on button 21, motor, and depending on where you are bringing in, tank 1 or tank 2.
What happens if you make a volume judgment mistake? Let's say there's only 40 capacity in there and you put 50. Where does the other 10 go?
There is an or limit switch, so it will go to the next.
Okay. So either way, it'll get empty.
Exactly. Yeah.
What happens in the case that both tanks are full? That's just too bad.
It will still stay in, but then you are ordering, like, you know how we just calculated.
Yeah.
So if it has to be like overloaded with perk, so capacity is like 200 liters, and here you are at 72, let's say 70, so 30 liters, and here it will take 40 liters, so total 70. So now obviously you're not going to order more than 70. Yeah. Ideally you should only order 60 and leave some space, because there might be some parts still in the back, in the filter or in the still.
Okay. So is there another way, or is just that the only way?
Unless you are bringing in from like a big tank, then there are pumps in the back which you can fit on the side.
Right. Yeah, no, I have seen those tanks.
Yeah.
People have separate tanks.
Yeah, so you can have those big drums, and then you can use pump to put that in.
Gotcha.
But I think for our day-to-day use, because we are not throwing or emptying this part, this is the best way, or this is what I have been doing for all these years now.
Have you filled the tank with perk before? No.
I had shown her, but see, because it's heavy, perk is heavier than water, so even though the tank is small, it is heavy. So
Do we have any to try or no?
no, we don't.
Okay.
But it's pretty straightforward. Just like normal soap container, it's smaller.
Do you know? Oh, you know, but you haven't done it. Okay. Well,
But
that's
it's
something.
like
Okay.
I think it is time to reorder maybe in next, I don't know, like next order next month.
Yeah.
Just
put that
dump
in,
all
so while
5.
he's here, just try it. If there's any problem.
Dump all 5 and then
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think that's
again.
about.
I keep repeating, but we had few instances where if you overload the drum, because the marker says max,
Mm.
if you overload the garments,
Yeah.
then you will find that it doesn't get dry properly. There will be like some content of.
So really, only half of that drum should be.
Yeah,
filled.
like we had gone even more than that marker and it runs fine.
Mm.
But if you fill the whole thing up, then there will not be enough room for it to properly dry, and your quality of the cleaning will not be that good. So ideally, you should not overfill. If for some reason there is some content of perk in the garments, maybe run 2 cycle, but never ever put those garments in the dryer to dry them.
Gotcha, Chief. Any idea how many garments can fit when we max it out? Let's say suits, like a trouser and a pants and jacket. How many suits can you fit?
Roughly, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 easily.
Up to the max
Yeah.
marker. Okay. Really?
Because that one whole full bucket can easily go in 1 cycle.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But we had seen like issue only occurs when you have bulky winter jackets. That takes more volume
Right.
compared to like normal jacket and trouser. So if you have 4 5 of those, then obviously you won't be able to fit
And
more
that can only
garments.
do maybe 1 or 2 Duna
Like
stacks.
yeah, Duna is mostly we had done 1. Unless you have 2 small, then
Yeah, so 1 Duna in there only.
only 1 Duna. Otherwise it will come out very smelly and won't dry properly. It needs room to dry.
So Duna is actually not that profitable for us. 'Cause you can only do 1 and it's like you gotta dry it.
Yeah. But normally when it goes in, it comes out clean, dry. You are not using dryer or anything, so you can, if work is good, cycle is good, you can pack it after a few hours.
I was just thinking in terms of resources. Okay, so let's say 200 liters of solvent. What would you say is the amount of time that usually, let's, an average day of work? How long would that last you?
For
200.
these
Yeah.
pork, actually, in 4.5 years, we had to refill maybe 5 times.
That's it in 4.
Yeah.
So maybe almost
So maybe
once a year.
once a year or
And
again, like
not even 200. You only refill like 50 or
50
something. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And the other thing is the volume was low before. Now actually volume of garments which we are cleaning is going up. So that may change, maybe I don't know, like 8 during an year rather than 5. But it's pretty good actually. The maintenance cycle, when you run it and if you leave it running for more than 5, 6, 7, the more hours you boil, the less dirty sludge will come out. That means more perk is getting cleaned and sent back. If you leave this after running maintenance cycles, you don't have enough time for it to boil. The next day, with the sludge, you are going to lose more perk, like you see in that tank from last week. So that's the other thing. Whenever you are running the maintenance cycles, make sure you are running like by 10, 11. in the morning,
Yeah.
and let it boil for like 6 7 hours. Then you will have sometimes in the beginning we used to have hardly like dry stuff, only fluff.
So ideally, you mean the 14. Run
Yeah,
it
so
on, let's say, a Saturday when the next day you don't work. Is that the most ideal time?
We have not tried that. Normally, when we run 14, we run the good night same day and then clean it
Ah.
next day.
So you, for good practice, you have to run the good night after the 14.
Same day.
Same day.
We have never tried it, leaving it running for overnight, or I don't know, maybe that's one thing we can try. Running 14 at late night. But the only problem with that is if your still is not cool enough, it will not allow you to open that door to remove the sludge. After like 40 50, I don't know, there is a setting, that door gets locked. Even though it says unlock, the system will not allow you to unlock that still door, and that's the only way you can remove the
So
sludge.
normal practice is run 14 for how long? How many hours?
No, like run 14, like today we're finished by 11 o'clock. So from 11 until 5:30, 5:40, it is going to get boiled. That's perk and sludge is getting boiled in still. All the clean perk is being sent. So we are going to lose less perk today compared to, let's say, if we would have finished 14 by 1 o'clock. So you only get like 4 hours now to boil the sludge and perk. So once you run the good night, that process stop, and next day you are removing anything which is there in still. So if say there is a leftover perk, which will also
got
go
what
out.
you're saying. So usually what you're saying is it,
Have enough
the
time.
longer you the longer time you have, the more the machine can efficiently pull
the perk
pull the
from
perk.
the sludge.
So you can potentially lose perk if you don't have enough time to
Exactly.
run the program
Maintenance
14.
14 and then
Yeah. So have you been running 14 since 11? Is that
No.
what you're saying?
14 cycle itself is, let's say, 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So let's say if you have dark garment also clean during that cycle, after 14 cycle finishes, remove those garments, and those are ready to be ironed. And
But the machine
but
is
the
just
machine
automatically.
now is like, after running that 14 cycle, it is in on state. This button 20, which is boiling or heating, still is going on. So perk, sludge, everything gets boiled, and it is being separated and sent back to this
Gotcha.
tank. So longer this process runs, more
I
perk.
understand. But how do I know it's not on 14 right now? Because you said the still button is on, which is on now. Is it?
No. 14
there?
is because the operator ran. Because I can change this. I changed this to 1 to show you how
Okay.
to go to program 1.
Okay. But if what I'm saying is, if you had started 14, it'll say 14.
Yeah, it will,
Okay.
like whatever program you are running,
It'll say
shows
there.
here.
Okay. Gotcha. That's what.
And even the step of what process, everything is shown here.
shown there in the analog. Got it. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So when 14 is running, you cannot clean anymore. You can only clean it during.
Dark garment. After that, leave machine as is in the on condition, not off.
And
Yeah,
then,
you cannot. Okay, there are instances where, let's say, if you have to do something, then you can run your cycle. It will pretty much ruin whatever
everything.
was there. It will be back in the system.
Yeah.
And
then
it will
you'll
clean
lose
like
whatever that
yeah.
you didn't
And then
bring back.
even there are instances in the past where, let's say, I'm running this cycle 14, so it's first thing tomorrow morning, they have to turn this on, turn this off, open the still, remove sludge. But let's say the person forgot and he comes or she comes, turn this on, starts program 1, good morning. Now also you ruin it. So you continue working as your normal day then. It has happened, nothing happens in the process. Basically you have to redo that process again. So run 14, wait for the still to boil per, and then do maintenance. What we have been doing is tonight when I leave, after good night I will leave this sticky here. So tomorrow when Penal will turn this on, this will give her heads up that she has to do the cleaning. So she will turn this off, open the machine and then remove the sludge. So yeah, this is what we came up with to avoid that confusion.
It's a good system. Okay. All right. See, even that's like a 20-minute video just to
Yeah.
cleaning. Okay. But in the beginning, I'm still confused. You said we don't touch any of this, but in the last 20 minutes, you were manually using it.
Yeah, but those are unusual circumstances where, let's say, you want to move part, which during normal cleaning process.
So
we
you
do
can
not
technically
have-
get away with not
Yeah,
doing
right.
anything at all.
And then the other manual steps I shown you was how to add part. That happens once every few months.
Okay.
If you have enough perk, then you don't have to. It will be automatically moved between those two tanks. Because we are in low volume right now, I had noticed that perk is more in one tank versus the other. So I had shown you those.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna stop this one.